Water is the variable that kills gardens. Not pests, not soil, not weather. Water too little, and the plants desiccate from the roots up, slowly, quietly, until one morning you walk outside and find a row of wilted brown stalks where your food used to be. Too much, and you drown the root zone, collapse the soil structure, invite fungal disease to finish what the drought started. And in a grid-down scenario, in a prolonged emergency, in a world where the municipal water supply is either gone or something you no longer trust, the garden hose becomes a relic, a memory of a time when survival was easy. Most people think water management in a garden means watering. More frequency, more volume, more effort. They drag hoses, haul buckets, watch the sky, and lose the battle anyway because they are treating the symptom instead of the system. The soil is losing water. They are replacing it. Losing, replacing, losing, replacing. It is an exhausting and ultimately futile loop that fails the moment the input stops. What your great-grandmother's garden knew, what indigenous agricultural systems in the driest places on Earth have always known, is that the goal is not to replace water. The goal is to stop losing it in the first place. And the second goal, running alongside the first, is to capture every drop that falls from the sky and hold it exactly where the roots can reach it. This is not gardening philosophy. This is hydrology applied to a 4x8 raised bed. And when you understand it correctly, the hose becomes optional, then unnecessary, then gone entirely. Let's build that system from the ground up. The first principle is mulch, and if you already know about mulch, you do not yet know enough about mulch. Most gardeners use it decoratively, a thin layer, an inch or two, applied for aesthetics, or as an afterthought. This is not mulch as a water retention system. This is mulch as a garnish, and it does almost nothing. Mulch, as a functional water management tool, means depth. 4 inches minimum. 6 is better. In a drought-prone environment, or a survival garden where water inputs are uncertain, go to 8. What you are creating is a physical barrier between the soil surface and the atmosphere. Bare soil loses moisture through evaporation at a rate that will astonish you if you've never measured it. On a hot, breezy day, unprotected soil can lose the equivalent of a 1/4 inch of rainfall to evaporation in a single afternoon. Mulch interrupts that process almost entirely. The surface temperature under 6 inches of mulch can be 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than exposed soil. On the same day, cooler surface means less evaporative drive. Less evaporative drive means the water you put in, or the rain that falls, stays in the root zone rather than escaping into the air. What do you mulch with? In a survival context, the answer is everything. Straw is traditional and excellent. It is loose enough to allow rain penetration, but dense enough to block evaporation. Wood chips are superior for long-term water retention and have the added benefit of feeding soil biology as they decompose slowly. Grass clippings work if applied in thin layers. Thick applications mat together, shed water, and create anaerobic conditions underneath. Leaves, shredded or whole, are free and extraordinarily effective. Pine needles work. Cardboard as a base layer under other mulch works. In a genuine emergency, any organic material between your soil surface and the sky is better than bare ground. The second principle is soil structure, because mulch keeps water in the soil, but poor soil structure means there is nowhere for that water to go except past the root zone entirely. Clay soils are a paradox. They hold water, but hold it too tightly, making it unavailable to roots, while simultaneously drowning them. Sandy soils hold almost nothing, draining so fast that even heavy rainfall barely registers in the root zone before it is gone. What you want is structured soil, aggregated, with genuine pore space, a matrix of mineral particles and organic matter and biological activity that holds water like a sponge and releases it to roots on demand. The path to that soil is organic matter, compost specifically. Not fertilizer, not amendments in the synthetic sense, but decomposed biological material worked into the soil structure. Compost improves water retention in sandy soils by filling pore space with organic colloids that hold moisture. It improves drainage in clay soils by breaking up the dense particle structure and introducing aggregation. It is the universal corrective, and it is free if you are composting your kitchen and garden waste, as any serious survival gardener must be. A soil amended with 20 to 30% compost by volume can hold significantly more plant-available water than unamended soil of any type. That means after a rain event, your amended soil is holding and slowly releasing water for days longer than your neighbor's compacted clay. That is days of root zone moisture you did not have to provide. Days of water your plants can access without you carrying a bucket. The third principle is contouring. And this is where the system moves from passive to active, from simply keeping water in the soil to actively directing water into it. Water runs downhill. This is obvious. What is less obvious is that every slope in your garden or property, however gentle, is shedding water during every rain event. That water is leaving your land. It is running off into the drainage ditch, or the street, or your neighbor's yard, taking topsoil with it, and leaving your growing area drier than it should be. Contour gardening means orienting your growing beds and any earthworks on your property along the lines of equal elevation, the contour lines, so that water moving downslope is intercepted rather than allowed to continue running. A simple contour swale, a shallow ditch dug along the contour line with a low berm on the downhill side, captures water flowing across the slope and holds it until it percolates into the ground. The berm keeps it in place long enough for infiltration to occur. Done correctly, a single rain event can recharge the soil moisture profile for a significant area downslope of the swale for days or weeks afterward. You do not need sophisticated surveying equipment to find your contour lines. An A-frame level, built from 3 sticks and a string with a weight hanging from the apex, has been used for contour mapping since ancient Peru. Walk your slope with it, mark the points where the level reads true, connect those points, and you have your contour line. Dig your swale along that line. Stack the excavated material on the downhill side to form your berm. Plant the berm with deep-rooted plants that will stabilize it. Comfrey is ideal as it has roots that penetrate deep, accumulate nutrients, and can be cut repeatedly for mulch material. This is not a weekend project. It is a one-time infrastructure investment that pays water dividends for the lifetime of the garden. The fourth principle is the Olla system, one of the oldest irrigation technologies in human history and one of the most effective field-applicable methods for survival, gardening that almost no one in the modern world uses. An Olla, pronounced O-ya, is an unglazed clay pot, sealed at the top except for a small opening, buried in the soil with its neck just above the surface. You fill it with water through the neck opening. The water seeps slowly through the porous, unglazed clay walls directly into the surrounding soil, drawn outward by the tension gradient between the moist pot wall and the drier soil around it. The release rate is self-regulating. When the soil is dry, the osmotic gradient is high and water moves outward relatively quickly. As the soil moistens, the gradient decreases and the release slows. The plant roots, following the moisture gradient, grow directly toward and around the Olla wall, putting them precisely where the water is being delivered. The efficiency of this system compared to surface irrigation is not marginal. It is transformational. Surface watering, even careful surface watering, loses an enormous proportion of its input to evaporation before it reaches the root zone. Drip irrigation is more efficient, but still loses some to surface evaporation and requires infrastructure. Olla irrigation delivers water directly to the root zone with almost zero evaporative loss, because the water never touches the surface. Studies have documented water use reductions of 50 to 70% compared to surface irrigation for equivalent yields. In a survival context, this means your water supply goes twice as far. It means a single filling of a buried pot can sustain a plant for 2 to 5 days, depending on temperature and plant size. It means that in a scenario where you are hauling water from a creek or a rain barrel by hand, you are hauling half as much for the same output. If you cannot source traditional clay ollas, you can approximate the function with unglazed terracotta pots, sealed at the drainage hole with a cork or clay plug, buried to the rim with a flat stone over the top opening to reduce evaporation and prevent mosquito breeding. 2-litre plastic bottles with small holes punched in the base and buried neck-down function as a cruder but functional approximation. The principle transfers even when the materials differ. The fifth principle is rainwater harvesting, and in a survival garden this is not supplementary. It is the primary input source. Every roof surface you have access to is a rainfall collection system waiting to be connected to storage. A 1,000 square foot roof surface in an area receiving 20 inches of annual rainfall will shed roughly 12,000 gallons of water per year. That number sounds abstract until you do the math on what a survival garden requires. A 1,000 square foot garden, mulched and contoured, with Olla irrigation and well-amended soil, might need 15 to 20 gallons per day during peak summer growth. Your roof is producing enough water to cover that requirement with significant surplus, even in relatively dry climates. Connect your downspouts to storage. Any container works: food-grade barrels, IBC totes, purpose-built rain tanks, a pond lined with clay or pond liner. The water collected does not need to be drinking quality. Your plants are not drinking it in the sense of safety. Use it directly. Filter it through a layer of gravel and sand and charcoal before using it on anything eaten raw if you are concerned about roof contamination. Elevate your storage. Even 2 feet of elevation gives you gravity-fed pressure sufficient to run a simple drip line or fill Ollas from a hose bib without any pumping. Gravity is free infrastructure. Cover your storage. Algae growth, mosquito breeding, and evaporative loss are all prevented by a simple lid. Your collected water will stay clean and viable indefinitely if it is sealed and kept from light. Now run the numbers on your complete system. You have mulched soil that loses a fraction of what bare soil would lose. You have compost amended structure that holds moisture for days between inputs. You have contours that catch and sink rainfall that would otherwise leave the property. You have Ollas delivering water directly to root zones with minimal loss. You have a rainwater harvesting system turning every storm event into stored supply. At each step, you are reducing loss. At each step, you are increasing capture. The cumulative effect of all 5 applied together is a garden that in moderate rainfall climates can sustain itself through most of the growing season on rainfall alone, supplemented only during extended dry spells. In arid climates, the water requirement drops to a level manageable by hand without mechanical assistance. The hose is not the solution. It never was. It was a workaround for not having a system. A system that works with rainfall, with soil biology, with gravity, and with 3,000 years of human agricultural ingenuity does not need a hose. It needs you to build it once. And then it runs. The sky is still producing water. The soil is still capable of holding it. The roots are still capable of finding it. Your job is to stop getting in the way and start building the infrastructure that makes all 3 work together. Do that, and your garden does not depend on the municipal supply, or the well pump, or the grid that powers it. It depends on rain and physics, and those 2 have never failed to show up.